Imagine being a kid and every moment of your life, what you eat, what you wear, who you talk to, is controlled by adults who don't love you, don't know you, and only see you as a dollar sign. Now imagine those adults aren't even your parents. They're executives in suits who've signed a contract that, on paper, gives them full control over your childhood. That's exactly what happened to Jackie Coogan, one of the very first child stars in Hollywood. He wasn't just working in movies, he was working for people who legally owned his image, his time, and somehow his future. And what happened to him after the cameras stopped rolling? It changed child labor laws forever, but not before it almost destroyed his life. Before there were child stars, there was Jackie Coogan. Born in 1914, he got pulled into the entertainment world by his vaudeville performer parents before he could even talk. His real explosion came in 1921 when he starred in Charlie Chaplin's silent film, The Kid. The movie became a massive international hit, and Jackie became a household name overnight. But it didn't stop there. His face was everywhere, on lunchboxes, dolls, coloring books, even chewing gum. He was Hollywood's first true child brand, way before Mickey Mouse or Shirley Temple. And behind the scenes, studios and promoters were cashing in on every inch of that fame. By the time he was in his early teens, he was one of the highest paid actors in the world. But as he later found out, none of that money was actually his. What most people didn't know was that Jackie had no legal control over the millions he earned. His entire fortune, estimates range up to $4 million, which would be around $80 million today, was being handled by his mother and stepfather. And when Jackie became an adult and asked for his money, they told him it was gone. Just like that. Not in a trust, not waiting for him, not even partially protected. His parents had spent nearly every dollar on luxury living, private cars, expensive real estate, and shopping sprees. Jackie's stepfather even argued that Jackie had fun earning it, didn't he? As if the money was some kind of bonus for enjoying childhood. His mother, even colder, went on record saying, "Every dollar a child earns belongs to the parents." And that was the terrifying part. Under California law at the time, she wasn't even technically wrong. Back then, there were no specific laws protecting the income of child actors. Show business was seen as a kind of gray zone. Kids weren't protected by standard labor laws, and because they were working in entertainment, most government institutions just looked the other way. Studios had zero legal obligation to safeguard a child's wages, and parents, if they were listed as legal guardians, could do whatever they wanted with the money. Jackie's case wasn't even unique in that sense. Plenty of child performers were going broke before they turned 18 because the very people they trusted most were exploiting them. And even if they wanted to fight back, they didn't have the money to pay for lawyers because that was gone too. And these weren't just greedy parents. We're talking about an entire system built to use kids and discard them when they stopped being profitable. Studios worked child actors 10 to 12 hours a day, often with minimal breaks and little to no education. Sets were chaotic, rules were loose, and most of the time children were treated more like props than people, and the public loved it. Nobody stopped to ask how healthy it was for a 9-year-old to be working a full-time job while pretending to be happy on screen every single day. There were no child psychologists on set, no protections for overwork. The industry just kept churning out child stars, and when one faded, they replaced them with a newer, cuter version. So when Jackie finally had enough and decided to sue his parents, the case became a national scandal. It wasn't just about one kid's lost fortune. It was about how Hollywood had turned children into commodities. Jackie's lawsuit captured public attention because it was shocking on every level. A kid earns millions, then gets left penniless by the people who raised him? It forced America to confront how broken the system really was. Unfortunately, the courts couldn't magically make all the money reappear. Out of the estimated $4 million Jackie had earned, he ended up with just $126,000. That's not even pocket change compared to what he was owed. But that lawsuit still managed to do something historic. It pushed lawmakers to finally create a law designed to protect kids in show business. The result was the Coogan Act, officially passed in California in 1939. It required that a portion of a child actor's earnings be placed in a protected trust, often referred to as a Coogan account, which could not be touched by parents or studios. It also put limits on working hours, required some form of education, and gave child performers legal recourse if their guardians tried to mismanage their income. Was it perfect? No. Loopholes still existed, and greedy adults always find a way. But it was a huge leap forward. It was the first time the law acknowledged that just because a child works in movies doesn't mean they should be treated like a tool. It was about respect, about rights, and about making sure no kid had to go through what Jackie went through again. But here's the thing. Just because the law changed didn't mean the culture did. The idea that children belong to studios never fully went away. Even after the Coogan law, plenty of young actors were pushed into fame before they could understand what was happening. Studios got better at managing appearances. They added tutors, on-set schooling, and PR teams, but the pressure didn't disappear. If anything, it just got quieter, less obvious. Behind the scenes, kids were still expected to be perfect, still expected to smile through exhaustion, give interviews they didn't understand, and carry entire franchises on their backs. Jackie's story didn't end with justice. It ended with a warning, one that's still relevant today. In a strange twist, Jackie Coogan did have a second act. Years later, he took on the role of Uncle Fester in the Addams Family TV show in the 1960s. That bald, bug-eyed character became iconic in its own right, but for Jackie, it was something more. It was a chance to be in control, to be taken seriously as an adult performer, and maybe even to laugh at the system that once owned him. He worked steadily through the later years of his life, doing small roles in television and film, but the damage from his childhood never really healed. He spoke about it openly, about the betrayal, about how surreal it felt to be a global superstar as a kid and then just be broke. And what's wild is how relevant his story still is. Every few years, we see another child star come forward with stories of burnout, financial abuse, or worse. From the kids of the 80s sitcom boom to the Disney Channel stars of the 2000s, it's clear the system never really fixed itself. It just adapted. Jackie's story may have changed the laws, but it didn't change the greed. It didn't change the way fame eats away at children who don't have the tools or the adults to protect them. That's why his story matters. Not because it's old, but because it keeps happening. So yeah, Jackie Coogan was legally owned by a studio, but the scariest part? He wasn't alone. He was just the one who spoke up. And that makes him not just a tragic figure, but a revolutionary. A kid who lost everything and still made sure the next kid had a shot at something better.